Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome all. This is Hazard. Welcome to Game Spasm. And today we're going to be taking a look at Across a Thousand Dead Worlds, my current bay. I am loving this right now. It is a science fiction, survival horror, solo co-op focused role-playing game by the great, I almost said the late and great Alex T. He's not dead. He's fine. The great Alex T. He is a prolific game designer who has made so many games. I don't even know where to start. But I have a gorgeous copy in front of me, and today we're going to do a flip through. We're going to take a look at the whole thing. I want to point something out first. So a lot of people don't know Alex lives in Spain, and I don't know if this is like a Spain versus North America thing, but I did notice that I expected the spine to have the title facing the other direction. So I don't know if that's like a different part of the world type of thing or what, but I thought that was kind of like a neat touch. Also, this book is like very dark. It's like most of the pages are black. It's very sci-fi gritty. However, pink bookmark for the win. I legitimately love it. I love what a nice little touch that is. So this is a gorgeous offset book. It is 446 pages, at least the PDF is. I'm not entirely sure if that's exactly the match, but I'm going to show you everything that comes with it. I'm also going to include this lovely pin that got sent along with it by Alex, so thank you very much. That is very cool. My setup is pretty GFab, so we have my blue snowball microphone. I've seen YouTubers hold it like this, so I can pretend to be like them, right? Usually that mic would be like right about here while I'm playing a game, and that's not going to work. So I can put it over here, and then I can just kind of lean into it. If you're wondering what this is my stepson's webcam being held by a gripper thing that's usually used to hold my phone, being pointed out of the book, because I am all about the quality here, people. I am all about the quality. I'll be turning my face off here shortly, so don't worry, I won't be impeding on it. So without further ado, let us get into everything that comes with the hardcover, offset, gorgeous version of this book. The art is great. I love it. I can turn me off now, right? We don't need to see me anymore. Let's get, yeah. There we go. You're gonna see this. What are you gonna do, right? Okay. I'm not a YouTuber. All right. So when you open the book, you at the back of the book you will get a little punch-out board that comes with these tokens that are used for combat during the game. You get enough for 5 divers and a number of bad guys. You also get, when you first open the book, these lovely battle maps. Quite nice. You can see there are 3 of them. They're each 3-sided. So we have an alien planet, alien facility, alien planet, and another couple of facilities. So they give you some options for layouts for to provide cover and that sort of thing while you're fighting. I did notice. Well, I'll bring that up later when we get to the part about the maps. So there's that. Okay. So let's tear this thing open. FYI, when I was a kid, my dad pointed out to me that when you get a new book, if you want to make sure not to ruin it or break the spine, you want to open both sides of it like this, and then take a few pages at a time and like kind of let them down on each side, just a little bit at a time. This allows the spine to get a little more of a natural flex and keeps it from getting ruined or cracking if you open it too quickly. And so, yeah, I've done that for my entire life because of him. So. The more you know. Oops, I just tilted my microphone away from me. All right, that's right. I gotta lean in a little bit. Can you guys see? All right, this is good. Offset pages definitely made me painfully aware how bad the lighting is in my studio. But here we are. I'm gonna hit the cord of the webcam every time I move a page in the book. That's great. I love that. That's gonna be awesome. Okay, so across the board, the art in this book it's just gorgeous. And also, if you've been looking at the PDF of this, I can tell you right now, there's such a huge difference between looking at the PDF of this book. You know what? You don't have to wonder. I'm going to show you how different it is. Hold on. All right, so this is the PDF version right here, and right, it's it's fine. It's not bad or anything. The art is still pretty. It's not that the layout is bad, but when you compare that to this experience of actually getting to, like, you know, okay, so actually I can tell you a specific thing that's different that makes the book so much better. When you're playing on a PDF, you either have to if you want to see the whole page, you have to scroll. You have to make it pretty small. You have to zoom pretty far out, right, to see the whole page. And even if you do that, it just feels like this continuous thing where the location of things just feels different. Like, nothing feels like it's at the top of a page because you always have this crap at the top. So legitimately, as I was looking through the book, I was noticing that I saw things differently. Like, things felt like they were in a different place because I didn't have this header in my way. But, all right, anyways. That's not why you're here. All right, here we go. Beautiful book. Gorgeous art. There is no art in this game that I don't like, I don't think. So I'm trying to make it so you can see the whole... Yeah, I got to move the microphone. All right. So we've got Alex T. Now, Alex did have someone else help him with the layout, and there's some things with the layout that might be done differently if he did it again. None of it's particularly bad. This is a fairly good table of contents. There are some things that I wish were in it that aren't, but you can find most of what you are looking for in here. So we have our information on Karam Station, which is where you take off from. By the way, like, because I am a low quality pseudo YouTuber and I don't have great lighting, you're still probably not getting the truly amazing, like, how gorgeous this is. These pages are just inky black. That's another thing. In the PDF, the inky black pages are not black enough. Almost as if they're somehow, like, incapable of being properly represented. Like an LED, like, okay, so looking at the PDF is like an LCD screen, and then looking at the real version in real life, the offset is like an OLED. I think it's super appropriate example. I love that there's occasionally just these tiny little prints and like signatures and little notes and stuff. You have like a tiny character sheet here. Really, all this stuff is downloadable as PDFs, so they don't have like one in the book other than right here. But you wouldn't want to use this one anyways. There's full-size ones you can download. All right. Somebody asked Alex, like, why are these big spots here? Were they missing art? The answer is no. It's not missing art. It's just I really should have this microphone closer. Oh man. No, you clean your desk. All right. No, this is intended this way. It's supposed to kind of look like an operations manual or a field manual or something, and that's why that's there. So we get right into the thick of thing, describing your attributes and skills, and talk a little bit about that. This is Arsai. So it's interesting. Online, I've seen it pronounced Arsai and Arsay. I like Arsai more. Arsay, I don't know. It doesn't sound as cool to me. All right, and then you have your talents. There's a ton of talents here. And this is really cool because everybody, you get talents when you level up. You get one when you start the game. There is at least one that is an example of kind of like an oopsie daisy with the rules, which is a good negotiator. I'll kind of get into that later. You have your background, which you can roll on, or you can choose. And what's nice about Alex in his book, and it says it several times in this book, feel free to remove whatever you want. Don't use a certain thing. It doesn't matter. Like, he's fine with you doing whatever you want with the book. If there's certain rules you don't want to use, don't use them. You're not cheating. It's a solo game, right? Rules are supposed to be frameworks, not cages. Speaking of frameworks, not cages, it's time for a drink of coffee. Those two things aren't related. Shut your face. Okay. Let's move on. So we have our life-changing event. Why did we end up coming to Karam Station to become divers? Oh yeah, I need to tell you. So everybody in this game, you are a deep diver, and we are on a space station where basically it's a space station that belongs to an ancient alien race that has ceased to exist, and we have found their station, and we get on their ships that we don't know how to fly, and they fly us off to these ancient locations, and we, basically we're grave robbers. Well, that was too loud. Sorry. Basically, we're grave robbers and like sorry, archaeologists. Anyways, we want their technology, we want their metal and their crystals and their data. We don't know how to use basically anything, and maybe that's a good thing. But the odds of dying are super high, and I actually did do a playthrough of this game, and my character died very quickly. 3 sessions and he was dead. It's a fun game. I like that. I like the loop of it. It has a little more structure than something like Starforged, which I think for some people is going to be very good. I'll get into a little more reviewy type stuff as we go on. Okay, so we have our talents. We discussed. You have your background. How do you earn your place? Okay, and then this is a drive. Now this is definitely an example of giving you options that are more about the role playing and less about the mechanics per se. So this is information that your character would have. It doesn't have a mechanical purpose. It's going to affect the way that they interact with other people and the way that people interact with them. And it'll give you sort of like a quiet focus for your character, something that they're not necessarily going to be talking to people about at all. Same thing here. Mannerisms, just basically ways to sort of define what your character is and what they do. This comes in handy because if you're playing with other people, or even if you're just playing yourself with some NPCs on your party, this helps you to show how their stress starts to manifest and how they can start getting on each other's nerves. I know that I should probably hold the microphone for the sake of having better sound, but I don't know. I miss having my hand, so maybe I'll just lean over. Okay, let's just lean over. I'm sure my back won't mind. And you start your game. You get some money. So this is basically the end of your character creation. In the game, when you go on dives, you're going as a team of 1, 3, or 5. Oh, that was very European of me to do this instead of this. I just totally went inside my own head. I was like, did I take my... Anyways. 1, 3, or 5 guys. So if you're only playing alone, you can go with the solo diver, or you can roll up some NPCs. You can make them fully fledged characters if you want that level of crunch, or you can just make some more straightforward basic NPCs that are easier to run, so you can focus more on the story and less on the crunch. So now we're going to get into the rules of Karam Station. Again, the art. I love the art. It's bleak and like... I don't know if dystopian's the right word because that implies the existence of some sort of society, but it's all gone. It's great though. All right, so we get into the information on the attribute checks, how to do checks, which is just a roll 220. You want to get 20, add your attribute to your d20. If you get 20, you win. If you don't, you don't. You have your standard opposed and disadvantage and advantage checks. This is for you to modify the difficulty based on the situation. It's very straightforward. The attribute and skill checks in the game, very easy to do. Very nice. Critical success and failure, and also gives you the option to... Oh man, that glare, huh? Look at that. Oh man, it looks like I'm scanning the page. That was cool. Anyways, it gives you an option for success levels, and it gives you an example. The pages are blackety black, and I love it. I mean, you're not going to print the PDF out, I'm telling you right now. But it's cool. It looks great. And I think that should be the focus. The focus of the print should be what it's going to look like here in this book, not whether or not somebody can print it out in a PDF. My humble opinion. All right, so it gives you a little information about how you can track stuff. I'll have to go faster. This will be a very... What are we at now? 13, 14 minutes? I guess it's not terrible. So we get into combat. Combat in the game, he's talked about how he's going to tweak this a little in the upcoming, the follow-up. He's doing a follow-up game that's based kind of in this world or this same similar area. But he's going to change the combat a little bit to make it a little smoother. I haven't actually done much combat because my guy just kept running away. Rightly so, by the way. You weren't there, you wouldn't know. But yeah, so this is the combat for it is interesting. I haven't seen it. Basically, combat in this game is you're rolling to get an attack roll. Basically, your damage has to be higher than the Constitution's attribute of your enemy, and if it is, they get knocked down. And then if you're able to do it again while they're knocked down, they get a wound. And everybody just has a certain number of wounds before they're dead. Most monsters only take 1 wound. PCs, player characters, usually have 3 wounds. If you get 3 wounds, you're dead. So it's a little different. There's no hit points. It's an interesting idea, and I think it's interesting because it sort of gives a way to balance or create characters that won't die immediately in combat when they're fighting alone. At least I think that was his intent. All right, so you have your combat sequence. All right, so one of the things that I was going to mention is, so yeah, here they're like, here's the grid, right? And they're like, or you can use these. And if you're going to make the combat on this, then you can roll on these tables to determine what the cover is going to be like in the combat, right? Yeah, there's also a section that tells you how to... Where is it? I know, I'm going really fast. Just hold on. This does speak to one criticism, one constructive feedback I have for the game. I'm not going to find it, am I? Okay. Well, we're going through the book. Oh, it's right here. So this, you can choose to just, make the cover yourself, like gives you an idea of what it should look like, or you can roll on these. Here's my thing, though. When you download the PDFs for the game, in order to do stuff, you get this nice... you get this nice combat grid, but if you're going to roll on these tables to make the combat, this is too big. Like the actual size, I actually used a pencil to make it the actual size, but I didn't notice that at first. Like these are smaller than this paper, so be aware of that. It's not like it's a big deal. You can just adjust it slightly, but yeah. So you have your various randomized tables. You've got the rolling for surprise and how that works. Also, like, what they're doing when you get there. It's possible in any given fight, and they tell you right at the beginning here, it's possible at the beginning of a fight that they just walk away. This did happen to me, thankfully, once, because I was not in a place for a fight. Initiative is fairly straightforward. The game uses a system of stamina. Every round in combat, you have 10 stamina that you can use to do however many actions. I just realized how far away I was from the microphone. I'm so sorry. I don't know how much this matters. It's hard. Anyways, I'm a professional. I'm really not. So you've got the optional combat stance rule. This is a great example of something you can bolt on or take off as needed. It's not a big deal if you don't use it in the game. Wow, you can't even see the... So sorry, guys. Okay, I got to be aware of that. I'm going to kind of hold the book so that you can actually see everything in those little boxes there. You can see that, can't you? God, I hope so. So, defensive stance, yeah. Aggressive stance, so you can change that as you want to. Movement is very basic. You get one move. A move is 1 hex unless you have a bunch of extra feet. Then you can move 2 hexes. But the only way to move more than once in a round is to forfeit all of your stamina. Movement does not cost any stamina. Alright, then you've got combat. Close combat's pretty dangerous. I like it. If you're the attacker, you get a +2. But even if you are the attacker, you could get hit by the defender, which is good. That's cool. Ranged combat is against the target's dex. Like I mentioned to you before, your goal is to knock people down and then give them a wound. If you need to know who's an NPC or a creature is attacking, good grief, the glare, I'm so sorry, you would use this table here. You got your hit location. This is something that he said I think he said he is removing from the next game. But I don't mind it. I like the sort of twist that comes along with finding out where you're hitting something. Armor just reduces the amount of damage that comes through. We have your scatter die for throwing explosives to see where they land. And an explanation on different areas of effect. So you can see this, it's comprehensive. He really gives you a ton of stuff to work with. You get your table for critical misses for melee and ranged. A critical hit is just an automatic knockdown or an automatic wound, which is nice. Gives you a difference. So what I thought was interesting is that, so suppressive fire is what you think of when you think of Overwatch in video games. Like if you're thinking of XCOM or something like that. Because basically this says that you can spend all of your stamina to deter enemy action within 3 hexes in the weapon's range. So you're picking 3 hexes on the board, right? Just like you would in like XCOM. You'd say like, I'm doing Overwatch in this area. And if anything moves into that area, then you unload on the thing and they take automatic damage. Overwatch is just delaying your action until they move into line of sight, and then you immediately act. So My first thought that I would have switched these, but I get it. I see why he labeled them as he is, because I really think this does sound more like suppressive fire, and so this is Overwatch. So flanking is just getting a +2 if you're on both sides. Desperate attack is losing your shit and running in, which you'll hit harder, but if they're still around, what's the next attack against them is a D10. That makes me curious, is like if you run in and do a desperate attack and you knock them down and they're wounded and then they're knocked down, does that mean that like when they get back up eventually the next attack is going to be? Because then by then it doesn't seem like you're in danger anymore. One of many rules questions. All right, disengaging attacks of opportunity. This is pretty straightforward too. You do a dex, if you're surrounded by dudes, you do an opposed dex check against the highest one. And then if you avoid it, then you can move away. That's all there is to it. If you fail it, then every enemy in melee will do an attack of opportunity that hits automatically. So careful. If you move off of the grid, then you get out of combat. And then we have a nice big combat example in one of my favorite colors, so I appreciate that. I like that. Random combat events. I haven't had a chance to use this, but I totally would, just because if there's a button, I need to push it. And this gives you an opportunity to sort of look at, make things a little more interesting. It might go bad for you, but there might be some cool. I like the lingering damage option. I've seen one person online doing a playthrough where there was a lot of getting down and up again and down and up again and taking a long time to knock the character down. Or knocking an enemy down, so I like the idea of damage sort of building up until the fall. Wounds and injuries. So this is... Okay, so actually, a critique. This chapter is called Wounds, Healing, and Death. This chapter should be called Wounds, Injuries, and Healing. Because death is literally only mentioned once, and it's only in reference to running out of, or like your maximum wounds going down. And when somebody's looking for information on injuries, they're going to want to find this chapter. And if you go to the table of contents, you're going to see wounds, healing, and death. You're not going to see injuries, and I just think that would be better. So wounds are interesting because if you take a wound, then you roll on the injury table, and it tells you the type of wound that you get. You can heal them when you're outside of combat. You get a chance to wound them or to heal them. The infected wound is a. I'll just mention it now. Okay, so a critique I have is that infected wound, you will get antibiotics. You need, it's been infected, requires antibiotics, or it may never heal. This book has like no typos. I want to say that that's actually super impressive. I mean, I've seen major publications with typos. This, I haven't seen a single grammatical error or typo in the whole book. The only thing that comes close is that there are some page reference mistakes. This is one of them. It says, you might get infected, see page 85. If you go to page 85, it says parasite attack. It has nothing to do with it. What you're looking for is actually on page 83. However, this is an example of a sort of a rules faux pas. One of your wounds are infected. If they don't take antibiotics before the time track resets, their maximum wounds are decreased by 1 permanently. And if you don't get it taken care of quick enough, you'll die, which is what it was talking about on this page here. Because if you get some antibiotics quickly, a PC with 0 max wounds is dead. Antibiotics are listed in the book here. And antibiotics are listed in the book here. And antibiotics are listed here. They're listed nowhere else in the game. They are not in the gear. They're not. So I asked Alex, and he's like, oh, you just have to use the medical kit. The medical kit also does not list antibiotics. So basically all you have to do is treat it like any other wound. You just need to do a med check like any other wound to get rid of it. And that is done using the med skill, which is medical aid, right? This will save your life more than once. You can do a medical aid check to remove 1 wound. So basically, an infected wound is healed like any other wound, except if you don't do it in time, you'll die because but there was confusion there. I guess let's say that. Here's my special ability that is a benefit and a pain in the ass, both to people like Alex T and other designers. I am the lowest common denominator of game learners. I'm kind of a slow learner, and if there's a wrong way to interpret something, I'll probably interpret it the wrong way. So you can show things to me and be like, did you understand this? And I'll say, no, here's why. And if you can get me to understand it, you'll probably get everybody else to understand it too. Okay, anywho, let's move on. We have our injuries table. By the way, I love this layout. I love this like computer, this old school like 80s computer printout. I've seen it in a couple other things I can't put my finger on. But at this point, I'm Cross 1,000 Worlds is like 5 years old, so they could have done it. Alex might have done it first for all I know, but I love it. I think it's just a fantastic format. Okay. Now, if you don't want to get into the hex-based combat, you can do zone-based combat instead, which is pretty cool. It gives you an option for not having to do the minis or the chits, the counters. Stealth. I've heard him say that Alex has mentioned that he thinks that stealth could have been done better, or that it doesn't quite work. I don't know if I agree yet. I've read over this a lot, and I know A Man Alone, which is a fantastic YouTube channel, and he's the bomb, had some complaints about it, but that's because he was doing movement wrong. No offense, Man Alone. He was thinking that movement cost 5 stamina, and I have no idea why, and because of that, he thought stealth didn't make sense. I think it's okay. I mean, you're not going to use it a lot. You're not going to do it like you're probably not going to do a sneaky thief build. Frankly, if any of your divers live long enough to consider them any kind of build, more power to you. So you have your various conditions that can happen as a result of fighting, or sometimes even out of combat. My character died as a result of something that happened completely outside of combat. Go figure. Parasitic infection. This is definitely some like alien type stuff, where you have very limited time before you're just killed by it. Of course, we've got radiation because we're in outer space, and what kind of survival game in space doesn't have radiation? And vacuum exposure, zero gravity stress. This is an example of a layout that looks completely different in the book than it does in the PDF, and this book is just gorgeous. And also, do I have an A5 near here? Hold on. All right, so these are. I just want to show you, what page are we on? 90. Hey, I have a bookmark. Let's use it. So, this book, this big gorgeous book, is bigger and more gorgeouser than you think. You think this is A5? No. So this is Cyborg, or Pirate Borg, whichever. They're both fantastic. And as you can see, oh, by the way, this is what I was referring to by the spine. Like, if you look at the spine of Pirate Borg, I think books tend to have the title facing the other way. So maybe it's because this world is so crazy. That's why Alex put it the other way. But as you can see, this book is big and gorgeous. It is bigger. It is bigger than Pirate Borg, right? And bigger than Mork Borg. It's just a little bit bigger, but it matters. Like, you can tell it. You can feel it in the way that the book feels, like the space that's on it. And also, there are pages that don't have a lot of information on them. And I heard somebody online complaining, yes, and I have already put fingerprints on this book. Shut up. You hear people online complaining, saying, oh, you didn't use the space. I don't want him to. This is artistic choice, and I think it's a good artistic choice because I like the idea that a game that's about being out in the deadly, dangerous emptiness of space also has that openness and that vastness sort of represented in the book. That's my take on it. I don't know if that's what he meant to do, but that's how I see it. So stress is a mechanic that is, you see it in a lot of survival horror games and that sort of thing. Basically, if you get too much stress, you end up freaking out. You start getting obsessions and traumas, and if you get too many of those, you eventually just lose your mind. So if you're playing with more than one diver, like if you have multiple people with you on the dive, then you've got one table. If you're alone, there's this one. Mine was hyperventilating. I started chomping down oxygen pellets while I was on my mission. You get these obsessions. Obsessions aren't mechanically important. They are, again, mostly for the role-playing aspect of the game. And And the idea of lashing out is great. It's that, people start arguing with each other and they kind of lose their shit and they yell at each other, and then their stress goes down, which totally makes sense. Like, you just get it off your chest. So you can get a trauma, and if you have 10 trauma, you're lost and dead. And honestly, dude, stuff has to go so bad for you to end up with that much. That would be bad. Negative traits you can get as a result of one of the options on the trauma table if you roll a 1 or 2 on a d10. Hacking in this game is neat. Basically, it's you rolling 2d10 and... Right? Is that what I'm thinking? Where is it? Player systems locked. Cipher allows a reroll. I'm not sure where it is in here, but there's a really neat mechanic where basically you're rolling 2d10, and then you're deciding whether you think a third d10 is going to roll inside those numbers or outside the range of those numbers. And then you roll to see if you're successful with the hack. What a great idea. I love hacking mechanics, or the way people come up with them. This I haven't done yet. This is an extra bit of crunch. They even recommend that if you're new, that you ignore this and wait until you're a little more familiar with the game. If you're playing with like extra NPCs that you roll up, you don't use this on them. You just use it on your player character. If you want, you can roll up full-fledged NPCs and play them just like other characters. More power to you. I probably won't do that. And then this gives you some emotional states. One thing that should be made clear, I just asked him about this yesterday. If you're hopeless, like if your character's gotten all the way down here in the negative, you have -2 to all your skills, but you do an additional d4 damage. I thought this meant that they take d4 damage more because they're just, they've given up. But no, they're losing their shit. They're like going to town. That's why they're at a d4. That's plus d4 damage. This gives you an idea on what triggers negative or positive emotions. Then we get into here. All right, here we go. The core of this is endless universe of travel to fill dangerous sights and find things to explore. So we get into playing the game. More evocative, gorgeous art. Okay. Gives you a nice little standard play structure, which I appreciate. This reminds me of Sean Tompkins' writings in Ironsworn and Starforged, where he kind of gives you an idea of how to handle things. And then this gives you the breakdown of each section and each type of ship that you have. So here's an example of me being a dummy. I just realized this when I was reading the book yesterday. I don't know why I didn't think of this before. I went on a solo diver mission, and it says, oh, you have 50, but there's only 32 left for you. So I was like, okay. So I started filling my ship with stuff, and I was thinking I only have 32. But the oxygen tanks and the supplies that you are given for your travel, those are what are taking up this difference between this and this, right? Because if you take this away from this, that's 18. You get 6 oxygen tanks that take 2 slots each. That's 12. They give you 6 supply rations, 6 weeks of rations. Each one of those takes up a slot. That's 18. That's the difference. If you go down here, that's 18 times 3. This is 18 times 5. So, yes, I did not put 2 and 2 together. I don't know why either. But anyways, it tells you what kind of ship you take. This gives you an idea of how to pick names for the ships for good luck, because of course they're superstitious. You get your basic survival package. It's funny that I asked Alex, I was like, everybody needs a hazmat mask, but it's not included in here. But it is free at the Karam Station store, the quartermaster, so why don't they just give it to you? And he was like, dude, it's not a charity. They're lucky they get what they get. And I was dying. And I was like, you're not wrong. Okay, that's pretty funny. So every crew gets this. Every person gets this. This stuff isn't included in the ship or in the space that's taken up on the ship. It's just the oxygen tanks and the supplies. And what really kind of helped clear that up for me is the fact that when you go back here, the only things listed in ship supplies are the rations and the oxygen tanks. That's what's taking up that space in the ship. So you're getting your supplies. You're voyaging through. This sort of tells you the process for how to travel. You don't actually know how long it's going to take to get to the location, so it can take pretty long to get anywhere. And there's a chance of things going wrong, and that chance increases the longer you're out flying before you get somewhere. And there are different events that can happen, either social events, ship travel events, or space anomaly events. And so you have all that. And then what I love is that there is a very small chance in the, and you have mental or physical too. There's a very small chance, I think only here, where you might get a misjump. But if you do, here's a whole page on what happens when you get a misjump, which is great. I think it's hilarious. I don't say hilarious. I think it's comprehensive. I love that attention to detail where this probably won't happen, but if it does, here's a complete thing for it. Once you finally arrive, you might just explode and die, of course, as it should be. You have a 2% chance of just spending all the time building your character and then exploding, which, of course, then we all pretend like it didn't happen and roll again. Maybe you won't. I don't know. You're a better person than me. You could land on a planet. You could be in an outpost or a orbiting station, or it could be a base inside of an asteroid. Tells you about the voyage time, how long it's going to be. It takes 1 to 7 weeks. You have to go back too. Keep in mind, like, if you have 6 supplies and it takes you 6 weeks to get there, you don't have enough supplies to get back. So you kind of got to make that decision. This is this tells you how to track time. When you are in a site, time, each one of these boxes is 1 minute, 10 minutes, and then once it's done, it's a full hour. It's a little different when you're going overland. I'll touch on that later. It tells you how to generate the name of the site that you're going to. What are we at? 36 minutes? Okay. You've got the main site purpose. So this tells you there are 20 different purposes of the RSI location and what might have been going on there, which I love. I love that there's like this much detail and that he goes into it in more detail. Each one of these has its own little explanation here. This sort of tells you what happened. Maybe your characters won't know what this is, or if you're a GM planning ahead of time, then this is for you to know and for them to find out. The overall site descriptor gives you some details. This is if you're in an RSI site. This is if you're in a planetary site. What is the difference? Sites on a planet. Okay, right. If it's this is if it's in space. This is on a planet. Then you have how many encounters you're going to have. So you could have up to 6 random encounters with known creatures. This is with the encounter stuff gets a little tricky, but you will have up to 6 of these, and it'll be on your sheet. You can sort of list. You should see this, right? By the way, here's the character sheet. That's a full blank and ready to go character sheet. If you're going to use generic NPCs, here's the sheet you would use for that. All this is available for download for free. This is your voyage log, so the different sites that you go to. I died after using 1 slot. These are the different enemies to keep track of in combat. This is the details of different creatures as you create them. This is for exploring planets for your hex crawls. And here we go. This is a site expedition report. So your site expedition report is going to show you you can have a certain number of unique encounters. Oh, sorry, that's not this. That's this. This is the number of possible unique encounters. Those are not unique, random encounters. Random encounters are known creatures. You know what they look like. They're listed in the book, and you can have up to 6 of them. These are unique encounters. That's something different. We'll get there. These are the known threats. These are the. This is a shiny reflection. These are the known threats that could come after you for the random events up here that we were just talking about. So when you roll it up, you say how many possible encounters go here, and then you mark them off as they happen. You get your dominant site hazard. This is basically going to tell you, the trickiness of the site. Like the one I went to was distorted, so time moved forwards and backwards, and that was all sorts of fun. That this place has twists. They turn without reason. Time is wrong. Each time track, there's a 50% chance it goes backwards. When the time track fills up, you need to take a rest, or you start running into stress and problems. You have to use up an oxygen pellet. You have to use up a battery for your suit. That's every time this track fills, and then you reset it. There is a time tracker right here on the site expedition report for use. There's not one on the Planetside report, but you use the same system. Okay. Plowing ahead, as Bill Burr would say. All right, so this tells you how big the sites are, and the size of the site will determine how much loot there is for you to grab at that location. And So the more the better. If you ever are moving through a place, why am I giving you the rules? This is a flip through. Okay, never mind. Okay, shh, Brian, shh. Okay, let's keep going. This game is designed. The sites are supposed to be like a point crawl, is the way that he described it to me. Alex did, and oh, here comes a happy puppy. Hello, nice to see you too. So don't think of it as like moving from room to room, but from like area to area. So it's not necessarily like you're in a room and there's some doors and you open a door and go to a new room. You can think of it as bigger than that. You can be more creative than that. Apparently more creative than me. But if you want there to be connectors in between, you can use this to sort of make area connectors. Just know that there might be some ambushes if you do. If you roll for an ambush, I don't know if that's known creatures or if that's just supposed to be... one of the creatures that's on your unique site. Alex, in the comments, you tell us no. If anybody watches through this whole thing, it's been amazing. I should do a second flip through, which is literally just me flipping through instead of talking this much. This is the meat and potatoes of exploration right here. This little guy right here, this is going to be where, this is what you want. This is what you want right there. There's some other things you can have and you're not going to love. This is what you want. This will get you the meat and the potatoes that you came here to get. This is almost certainly going to be a fight. And this is all sorts of problems. Hazard manifestation? That sounds... Hey, that's me. Dread event? Obviously, you don't want that. But on the next few pages, so he gives you a quick rundown of what those are. Ooh, what's this? A white page. Every once in a while, he just likes to, subvert your expectation. Give you a pink bookmark and a white page. This will tell you how the difficulty of the encounter... So, the encounter construction is tricky. I'm just going to leave it at that, okay? It's a little tricky to wrap my head around how... which creatures, what size, that sort of thing. Basically, when you have an encounter, you roll on your table, and the size of the location told you... how many potential there are. So like if this is a small site, I roll a d4 and that's how many there are. So for me, I just drew a line under the d4. And then when I have encounters, I roll on this table. If I roll a creature I've already made, then that's who I encounter. If I roll a blank, then I make a new creature. But this is just every creature can be of a different difficulty level. So these are not, this is where I'm not entirely sure. I guess the difficulty level isn't specified here. It's going to be specified based on the encounter difficulty, right? Because there's different sizes of monsters, and that's later in the book. Resources are the good stuff. You can search around. You're going to want to take our side technology at the beginning of the game, or else you can't scavenge at all. For alien technology, ask me how I know. These are all the different artifacts that you could find, a lovely, nice big table, and how much they are worth and how big they are. Well, no, you won't know how much they're worth till you get back to the station. Them's the breaks, my friends. And here's the thing. The game is so tempting. The reason my character Hugh died is not because the game is too hard or overly brutal. It's because I didn't know when to quit. I had a fair amount of stuff. I could have gone back to the ship and left, and I didn't. I chose to explore more, and that's what happened. That was the noise of what happened. Yeah, when you get back, you'll roll to see how valuable the different things are that you take, and you only have so much space in your suit to carry stuff back. So you might want to drop stuff off at the ship and then go back again, like I did, and then you die. Okay, so these are the different manifestations of site hazards. Okay, so like when you have a hazard manifestation, use the following table to learn about it, in conjunction with the dominant hazard. So it kind of gives you the information on how to do that. Your locked access points are doors. This caused me problems because I rolled a d20 and got a 20 on the mine door, and it caused me all sorts of stress. But this is cool. So much variety, and this is what makes it great for co-op and solo, is that this stuff just sort of generates as you go. What's behind the door? The vacuum of space. This game's awesome. Okay, so sometimes you gotta backtrack, That tells you how to do that. Dread event I haven't run into, and frankly, I don't like reading tables until they come up in the game. I prefer not to because it makes it so fun when you get there. Taints. I'm such a dirty mind. I'm sorry. All right. So you have the different taints. I don't even know what this is for because this is clearly related to. Oh yeah, see, roll on the taints table. You think you're okay? No, you tain't. All right. So automatic security measures. Yeah, this looks like manifestations of the taints. Remind me of in Cyborg, where you have like horrible infestation stuff, nano or whatever. All right, you have automatic security measures. I'm pretty sure oh yeah, this is what killed me. A cloud of aggressive nanites were released. They surrounded me, inflicting 1 wound a round. They will move from character to character until there's nobody left. So I got away from them, but when I rolled on the wound, it was infected, and then I just rolled 6 times, and out of 6 rolls to get rid of it, I used all my luck points. I never got rid of it, and Hugh died covered in green glowing nanites, and rough. It was a rough day for Hugh. His worst day. Fixed event. Actually, I don't know that. Hugh had a pretty checkered back. Well, he did die, so I don't know. That's probably the worst day. You have your different fixed events that they say, like, adjust them if they become repetitive. Okay, we're about to get to one of my favorite parts of the book. Get ready. Are you ready? Random occurrences. So the random occurrences section gives you, if on the exploration table, boop, boop, boop. I said boop. You know what I meant. If on here you roll random occurrence, you end up here. And if you end up here, you roll danger, discovery, event, or situation. You've got all these dangers and discoveries. You've got the events. But the situation, totally underrated. This should be in the table of contents. I will fight you. This belongs in the table of contents because these are good tables. And, this section is general verbs and nouns for suggesting situations that could arise between existing elements when using them. Like, yeah, okay, fine. I guess you could wait until the 1 out of 10 chance that you roll a random occurrence, and then after that 1 out of 10 chance, you have a 1 out of 4 chance to roll a situation. But whatever, fuck that. This is a good table. Totally use this. Page 170. Make a note on your sheet so that you can find this again. Because it's great. You have 100 verbs, and then you have nouns, and each of these lists of nouns are specific to the type of location that you're at. This is a treasure trove of stuff for solo roleplay. This could be so handy during your game. Keep this in mind. Put a pin in it. I will dog-ear this. Don't tempt me, Frodo. You have to take a break every hour. I have a problem. This site example. This is going to be the last thing I do. I don't know if I'm going to put a timestamp somewhere. Maybe I'll put it in the comments. But I'll come back to it. I need to keep moving because we're at 48 minutes and I'm only halfway through the book. Anyways, this is an example of site construction and then exploring it. Here's Planetside exploration. It's a nice touch that the entire section on Planetside exploration is done in white. I think that's pretty cool. Planetside is... here is a pro to this game. One of the things I really like about the game. If you've done solo RPGing, you've probably heard of Kevin Crawford, who wrote Scarlet Heroes. And in Scarlet Heroes, he has a well-known and well-respected section on solo role-playing in the back. And he gives you ways to make 3 different types of adventures. Urban adventures, wilderness crawls, or wilderness exploration, and dungeon crawls. I would argue that all those things are here as well, right? When you're on the station, you're doing urban adventures. You're role-playing. It doesn't provide your character with, like, progression per se, but it provides narrative, story, development, that sort of thing. But there's tons of tools for that. This right here is the equivalent of, Uncle Kev's wilderness crawl. You're doing, a wilderness hex crawl, basically, which is on, I already showed you, but I'll show you again, this sheet right here, right? You have a biome. Every biome has 100 hexes, and you're moving around in that biome. And then when you go into an RSI location and start roving around, obviously that's the dungeon crawl. So Alex has provided the same 3 sort of common templates and tables for solo play in all of them. How the planet's designed. I bet your eyes are like resting right now because you can actually see. The climate, whether it's a single biome. It gives you an exploration. So you have the different biome types, and there's 10 of them, this is really good. So like each biome has an explanation of how it. This is just beautiful because this is just detail. This is flavor for like what's in the sky, how many hours there are in the day. This is the number of random encounters you can have with known enemies, and these are the known enemies that are on the planet. But very similar to, oh, hey, here you go. Here's your hex details right here. So when you're exploring, you're moving from hex to hex. So this is where the time is different. And he said, somebody on Drive Through RPG complained, like, well, if a time tick is 10 minutes and each of these are 3 miles, you're saying that I'm going 3 miles in a minute, and that's crazy. It's abstracted, guys. It's just each hex costs 1 time tick or else we're making a whole nother system, and that's just not worth it. So each hex is 1 time tick. After 6 time ticks, you rest. You use a battery. You use an oxygen pellet. That's how this works. All right. As you move from hex to hex, it'll tell you what kind of hex you're moving into next. It's just good. It's got some decent, comprehensive hex crawl rules included in it, and how you operate differently if you're in certain biomes or water. So this is the meat and potatoes of this Planetside exploration. You might actually find an RSI site, in which case you're switching over. You're gonna just take this guy and staple it to the back of this guy and keep on going. Okay. This is the findings if you happen to roll on that. Then you have your Planetside encounters and your close encounters, which is cool. That's where are your close encounters? Where are your close encounters? When would you roll on this? Interesting. Findings, hazards, obstacles, RSI site. I don't know. I don't know how you get to that table, but I wanna. Oh, Brian, it's right at the top of the page. Close encounter. Roll on this table. Otherwise, combat encounter. And then for each, this reminds me of Starforged, their little reference book where they have like these full page spreads on each type of location. Like I think in there it's planets, but here, so for each biome type you have barren, exotic, frozen, irradiated, and you have like the sites that you can come across and the hazards and obstacles. Lush, scorched, toxic, urban, volcanic. So this is cool. Tons of water. How could I forget water? I thought I was done. So every biome has its own little table that you can use to go through. Now we're into the section for running the game. So if you're a GM, you're using this section. If you're doing GM emulation, you are also using this section. It's tricky because like that one table that I told you is amazing and should be bookmarked that I already forget what page it's on. 170. It's hard because on one hand I understand exactly why it's here and it makes sense that it's here, and Alex has said he has no regret as to putting it there, but I feel like there's other tables that should be by that would be good. So running the game, designing a mission, some details on that for people, ensuring people have fun. Oh look, Jenny's home from yoga. We're gonna close the door now. Jenny's home from yoga sounds like the name of like a dramatic book or something. Okay, so this is we were just conversing this. We were just having a conversation about this on the Discord today, and basically what Alex said when asked about the scenes and how to use them, he basically said that the scenes are really for use outside of our sites. Like if you're wandering around, going from area to area and rolling for encounters and all that, this isn't really necessary. This is more for dramatic role play or scenarios outside of that when you're on the station or in other situations, maybe on the ship, that sort of thing. But it is reminiscent of Tana Pigeon's Game Master emulator, in which you have scenes and you might have a twist. So, you decide what the scene's going to be. You roll a d6, 1 out of 6 chance there's a twist. At the end of the scene, if you feel like things were out of control, then the twist modifier goes up, and this resets whenever the time track does. So you've got your yes/no oracle right here. I like that it's called a prediction subroutine. I love it. I love the theme. And you can roll a d6 and add qualifiers if you want to. This is okay. So now we're getting into really good tables again. So this table is awesome too. This right here, this you should bookmark. This is a good table. So if you're uncertain and you need to know what happens next, for example, like for a twist, so you can use this for twist, but you don't have to. You can use it any other time also. You roll a d8 and another for the other row to see what happens, and you've got this great, like, is it related to this, and then what happens in relation to that. It gives you a description of each of these in this column. And then, you have so many tables for NPCs, which is great. This is going to be particularly good when you're on the station and you're doing roleplay there. So you have your character motivations, 100 of them. Fantastic. NPC knowledge. So ignore this part and look over here to see the information that they have. This part here, this is a little weird because this table is here, and then you have this, which then relates to this. So you have your starting attitude, hostile, neutral, friendly, and then if you want more details on this, pick or roll. If it doesn't make sense, then pick. Like if you're rolling and it seems weird that somebody's attacking you for no reason, then don't do that. NPC morale, so this tells you what to do with NPCs if they freak out during a mission when some crazy things are happening. Yeah, this part is tricky about where to know where to put stuff like this, because I feel like on one hand this would be good to, I don't know where else to put it. Never mind. I don't write books. Alex does. This is their motivation, who they are. So this helps you to just build PCs. It's like a quick piece, and like it is always. I'm always grateful to see this. Here's 100 first names, 100 last names, their nature, their quirks, right? How are they feeling? This is a good table. I do not like the name of this table. I don't like the name of this table. NPC details, how are they feeling? I don't know. Mood, emotion, I don't know. I just don't like the name of this table. I do like how comprehensive it is, though, because you can just roll a d8 and get a basic answer, and if you want to get a little more comprehensive after that, you can roll whatever die, a d6, a d4, whatever's appropriate, and then if you want to get even more specific, you can do it again. Well done, Alex. Good table. Good table. I feel like I should just do I should do a video called Table Review. Okay. This is how NPCs relate to each other. Random conversation. Okay. So this is good. This helps you to decide. It also says if it's taking place during a voyage, that there's like negative and positives to stress. This is related to something else that is not clear, and I'll get back to that. Conversation topic. This is a D66 table, in case you can't tell. Updating story arcs. So this is very much for, again, probably not as important when you're in a site as it is outside of a site. Oh, good tables. Here come the good tables. The action and theme tables. This is very much like, I think Tana Pigeon did it first with Game Master Emulator, where she had a bunch of tables. I think Iron Sworn did it better. And this is kind of in between. And the reason I think that this is in between, first of all, action theme tables are great and they should exist in any solo RPG. These can create such amazing things, and the trickier it is to come up with something, the more amazing it might end up being, is my take on it. Now, so action and theme, you can use this in all sorts of situations. However, actions tend to be verbs, themes tend to be like nouns or concept. Well, no, they tend to be concepts. The one thing that I think puts Ironsworn just slightly above this, or Starforged, is they have the action theme, but then they have the descriptor focus. And that one is, like, this is for describing what people do, and then the descriptor focus is for describing things and what they are. And I think that definitely has its place. Not to take away from this, these are very good tables. These are tables I do kind of like to read through every once in a while. And then just your random resolution, in case you need it. If you want to roll, you're not using an attribute of any sort, you're just rolling, okay? Right here. Do whatever you want. Don't forget that these rules are here for you to break and bend to your will. If something doesn't work, take it apart, remove it, expand it. Like, if this emotional state thing, if you look at this and go like, oh man, that's a lot to track, then don't. Chuck it. It doesn't matter, right? Like, do whatever. The whole point is to have fun and play the game. Break it. That's fine. Okay. creating monsters. So this whole section is about how to create your monsters. You have your encounter difficulty, which I think is the same table as over here, right? Planetary. No. Yes, I know Galaxy is full of monsters. Where's the white page with the encounters on it? I know you're in here. I can hear you white paging. Hold on. Here it is. All right. So the encounter difficulty, same table. Okay. So the tricky part about this is that when you do an encounter, you're gonna roll, like if it's an easy encounter, then you're rolling to see how many creatures show up, and they're all going to be the same type of creature, but they'll be of varying difficulties, and those difficulties are easy, standard. Where are they? Easy, standard, elite, and overwhelming. I actually think something that would have made this easier, Alex, is that if you didn't have the same names for the difficulty of the encounter as you did for the difficulty, whatever, or size. What do you call it in here? You call it the. I am so good at not finding things. Let me tell you. You can't hide from me. You clearly can. Here. So these are the. Pick the stat block matching the encounter's difficulty, which isn't even technically true. You're not picking the stat block matching the encounter's difficulty. You're picking the stat block that matches the creature's difficulty, because a standard encounter could have easy creatures. This part is tricky. It's a little hard to wrap your head around. It's a little hard for me to wrap my head around. But basically, you always begin by rolling on the site table and doing the creature's check. If it's a creature you've already encountered, regardless of difficulty. So you don't write difficulties down on the bottom of this page. Right? Then what happens, they're all the same type. It must be generated accordingly. They share a type, but they're in different difficulties. So generate the base creature type and then modify it to the correct difficulty, effectively creating different versions of the same base creature. So this is why that online generator that someone posted is super handy. However, you should know that the online generator does not actually know that for easy difficulty, if you're playing alone, like if you're playing with a solo diver, every easy difficulty has to be a brute. It's just so that you don't die right away. But doesn't know that, so keep that in mind. Anyways, long story short, probably too late. This can feel a little tricky. But it tells you like what kind of creature it's going to be, gives you descriptions of those creatures and the stats, the size and damage modifier. So there's modifiers to the damage based on how big it is. There's going to be modifiers to the abilities based on what type it is. There's going to be the behavior is going to be based on like what the drive of the creature. This is a thing you can do. I don't understand why though. I would love to know why this would matter, like why you would change the intelligence. Also, I did notice that as a critique on the creature sheets, every creature has an awareness value, and there's nowhere on here to put that awareness. There is a big spot for the intelligence. I tend to just I'd cross it out, write awareness, and put the awareness there. I would love to know what the point is of changing the intelligence of the creature. Maybe that's for certain abilities against it? I don't know. Here are the stat blocks. So for each one, it's how many wounds before you kill it, the awareness, the attack skill, and sometimes they have more than one. And in those cases, you just roll 50-50 to see which one it's going to be when you make the creature. This gives you basically their behavior. So each type has a specific. So all easy one crew member opponents are brutes. That's what I meant to say, if that's not what I said. And then, so brutes. So based on this, you're also going to have changes here to what they are. So the tricky part is, I guess, is it says that like when you make a creature, make it generic, but then change its difficulty based on what you rolled for the encounter. But there is no generic version of. I don't even know how to describe it, guys. So like, yeah, okay, let's say I roll up a creature that has 6 legs and 4 feet and 2 arms and goes biking on the weekends, whatever. So all that's going to be the same, but if it's, and the name's going to be the same, but then if it's going to be different based on the stat block, I'm not really writing down, I don't know. I don't fully get it. I don't fully get it. It is tricky to me. And I'm beating a dead horse, I think. Suffice it to say that this part's a little tricky for me, and I feel like the next time I play, I'm gonna have the same amount of problem. It's bugging me so much. I'm just gonna pause and just ponder this for a second. All right, I guess what he means. This really bothers. I hate not understanding. I guess this when he says generate a base creature type and then modify it to the correct difficulty. I guess that means standard. And then you change it based on the difficulty. Whatever. My final say is this is overly complicated, and it makes my brain hurt. So you have the different types, and this tells you what they do on their attacks. I want to make it very clear that I love this game. This is not me saying that this is bad. This is just me frustrated at myself for not being able to fully grok it. It's more about me than it is about Alex. All right, so yeah, different types of attacks, whether they do ranged attack, whether they do melee, it's in here. You also can add in the unique traits, so these also add different stat changes that would be before you adjust the difficulty of the creature. I love the different abilities, and then the things that they have. The variety here is fantastic. Excuse me, gross, fantastic. And then if you have psychic abilities, here's what they are. These are fun. Tables like this are fun because you can end up with some absolutely absurd and bananas things that are hilarious. Creature name, design, guardians. Guardians are a whole different thing, right? They actually just have a default behavior that's here. They have their own specific stats blocks for Titans. Here's all the different versions of Titan. Same for these guys. These guardians are RSI constructions that are designed to defend RSI sites, and they can be pretty tricky. And the art is unusual, and I like it. These are the known threats. So whenever you roll to see whether you have an ambush at the end, every time the time track resets, you roll, and on a 2 out of 10 chance you're going to have an ambush, and the ambush is going to be one of these known threats. Everybody's seen these before. If you actually take one out, you get a commendation, and that commendation can be used to get stuff on the station, which is really cool. I like that. So here's all the details on these guys. So many more monsters. The Cybane. I think I dated a chick like that. The Cicalia? Probably. Yeah, and then if you do good, you get the fancy gear that's at the station. Enemy morale, so in certain situations, not guardians, but other creatures will freak out in certain situations. Right? Okay, now we're at the station. We're almost done, guys. Hour and 8 minutes, right? So here we're at the station. So this gives you what this is. I totally overlooked this in my first playthrough, and I want to use this more next time. This is tells you what the station's like, the locations that are there, the history of the world, like the world building, which is great, by the way. It is. It's funny to me that we always put things too close in the future, in my opinion. Like 2078, that's not that far away. Put it in like 2278. Yeah. So this tells you like the history of Karam Station, the RSI. I think this is where they tell you how to pronounce it, isn't it? Nah. All right, that's fine. History of that, history of human technology, and then you get into the review of Karam Station, or the overview. The overview, not the review. Life at the station. What's it like when somebody dies? What's the security like? What's it like living there? Here's your downtime activities, things you can do once per cycle. Here's your carousing table, which every quality game has carousing. These are things you can do in between missions. Also, if you get Karam Station Blues, which is sort of like an introductory scenario, it adds even more fun things that you can do at the station, including pay. It specifies the daily tax, which they forgot to specify in here, and I wasn't going to pay, but I guess I will now. Little map of the station and how it was built. All of this is human built. This is built by the RSI inside. And then it gives you the layout, and it tells you everything about the layout and any relevant information about what happens in that part of the layout, which is really cool. The hotel, the district, that's where all the action is. The red asteroid's everybody's favorite bar. You got some colorful locals, corporate news and rumors. This sort of thing just exists for the sake of flavor, and I love it. Well, that's not true. Actually, it can be flavor, but it could also turn into something super useful for your adventure. Personal quarters, how much you pay for it, what it includes. You have to pay this even when you're out on a mission. So, like, if it takes you 3 weeks there and 3 weeks back, when you get back, you have to pay, whatever, 600 Drake coins for your time while you were gone. Bogus, man, but I get it. It's they're running a business. So this tells you all about the hangars and the ships, and this is mission control where you go to get your missions. You can get your medical insurance, which I didn't even consider for poor Hugh because I was a very new player and I forgot all about it. The sort of things you can get for medical services. You've come here in search of quick riches and fame. By the end of the month, 2/3 of you will already be dead or lost. Random crew member construction. So when you use random crew members, you do things a little differently. You can spend points to make them or just roll on this. I would totally roll on this. They have 3 wounds, 2 points of defense. They just take 1 stress every time a PC gains stress. And I would assume, like, if you have 2 PCs and 3 NPCs, that means that, like, if the PCs took stress, then the NPCs take 1 stress, not 2. You know what I mean? Tells you how to use skills for them, how to give up their tables and their talents. Then we get into gear. This is the gear section. This is awesome. Everybody loves a good gear section. Tells you what's available, how much it costs, what you're going to need. And you get your field guide to weapons. Gives you all the stats or information on how the weapons work. So you have your basic melee weapons, your rare melee weapons. Ranged combat is king, as Alex would say. So, better to shoot from afar. You have your experimental melee weapons. So there's certain things you can't get, like there's availability rules. So you have to roll to see whether or not stuff is available on the station at all when you go to buy it. And some of the stuff's free. Like when you just show up, they're like, right on, man, here's your combat knife. And they're like, right on, man, here's your service pistol, right? Then you have your rare pistols and your experimental pistols. You get your basic submachine guns, your rare smugs, your experimental smugs. You get your basic shotguns, your rare shotguns, your experimental shotguns, right? Basic rifles, rare rifles, experimental rifles, your basic explosives, and your rare explosives. Then you get into armor and protective gear. Sort of tells you how to use it and where it goes on your inventory. An updated field guide. So you have your body armor, your hazmat. You get a level B hazmat suit for free. Hazmat masks are free, but you have to go get one. They don't give you one at the beginning. You have to go ask for it. You also get a vac suit for free. This is the fancy stuff right here, the Drake skin. I hope someday I live long enough to be able to buy this fancy shit. We'll see. Then you have experimental and protective armor. You have your ship supplies, which you're going to need to get. By the way, if you buy extra and don't use it, you don't get your money back. It just goes to waste. You don't keep it. You have your basic equipment, ammunition, batteries, oxygen pellets for when you're walking around. Swimming gear, I have questions. Does it take the full bodysuit? Can you wear the other things on top of it? Do you need to have a hazmat mask on when you're wearing it? I have so many questions. Because I feel like clothing, you could absolutely wear that stuff on top of it. Emergency suit sealant is hilarious. Medical kit, you'll notice no reference of antibiotics. Alex! Night vision lenses, that's awesome. Toolkit, thruster pack, survival kit, rare equipment, experimental equipment, drugs. I like that those alprazolam 100 years in the future, that we're still we're using Xanax. Well done. So you have your augmentations. This is cool. I'm so far away from being able to afford this or do anything with it, but how cool is this stuff, man? This is like the cyberpunk shit right here. Biomechanical augmentations and the strain that's required for it. this first mention of it, right? Like you like get to the back of the book and you're like, oh my god, there's cyberpunk stuff here. This is amazing, because of course it is. So all the different augmentations you can get, and then this is the bougie stuff right here. This is the if you get the commendations and you're, a badass, you can get these kind of crazy cool, Vimanic tech things. So that's awesome. Oh, the porcupine, shut up. That's so cool. All right, and then at the back of the book you have a couple of scenarios. Kind of feel like I don't want to show you too much of it. That feels, I don't know, spoilerish. I don't want to put a spoiler tag. So there are 2 scenarios in the back of the book that you can look at that give you the details of like the creatures you might find and the locations that might be there. So you have the Reigns of Felonus. The Reigns of Felonus. Really cool art. That is cool. I did not look at that before. That's really cool. This one is cool too, but this one wins. And you have scenario 2, Archive of Minds. This is really cool. Actually, I did read a tiny bit of this one, and I don't want to get into spoilers, but I will tell you that there's I think this actually happens on Karam Station. So that's kind of cool. Sort of like a secret entrance, a little underground thing going on there. So that's all there. And then you have your glossary of terms. All right, this... Oh, and notes. So don't think I won't write stuff. I might make my own index back here at some point. Oh my god, an hour and 16. This is longer than some of my playthrough videos. Okay, let me give you my... not that I don't know if anybody's listening anymore, but okay, here's the deal. Things that need work and things... I'm going to go back and forth between the good and things that need work. Good. I love the smell of the book. I can be on camera now, right? We're done. Book and me? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so... Part 1. I love the smell of the book. It smells so good. And maybe it's going to go away, but... it's fantastic. So good. And I already mentioned no typos at all, so that's a huge pro. So things that need work. There are some wrong page references, right? There's more than just that one. There's not more than 2 or 3 that I've seen so far, but there are some incorrect page references that should be noted. So let's see. What else? The book is gorgeous. The book is gorgeous. And the PDF doesn't do it justice. It's fantastic. It feels good in the hand. I'm about to make a Flossie Carter reference. You can look him up on YouTube. The pages are thin. They feel like magazine pages, which makes sense because it's 446 pages, and you don't want the thing to be the size of an Encyclopedia Britannica. But yeah, it's an absolutely gorgeous bag. I wish there was an index. I wish more RPGs in general had an index. I know that a lot of times the index isn't what you want it to be, but it's better than nothing. So the table of contents is good, not great. I wish there was a little more to it. The layout is great. It is evocative without being like crazy like Cyborg or Morkborg, right? Where those are so crazy. Literally the first time I opened Cyborg at my friendly local gaming store, and I couldn't read it. I didn't understand what I was looking at. It was like I was having a seizure. This provides the art, it's not quite like art punk the way that Cyborg is, but it's pretty and it's good and I like it. Let's see. There are some issues with rules being confusing. So, for example, we had a conversation on the Discord where Alex is like, because I asked him about the good negotiator talent on page 18 that says you keep 60% of your goods instead of 50, and he's like, oh yeah, you only keep half of what you bring back. And I was like, what? It is not in there. And I searched the hell out of that PDF, and so did some other people. And Alex realized that it just got cut by accident during design. But I don't like that rule anyways, and it's never going to be in my game because it's too deadly, and if I'm doing all the work and it says I get that much money, that's how much money I'm taking. But Alex says to break the rules as you wish. I'm actually going to treat that talent, the good negotiator, that instead of getting, you get 20% more of whatever is listed. So instead of going from 50 to 60, you're going to go to 100 to 120. That's the way that I'm treating it. I made my comments about the swimming gear and where it fits. Are magnetic boots only required if you roll an 8 on the overall site descriptor table? And if so, that's an awfully niche situation. That's just my question. So yeah, there's some rule questions like spending stamina to change your initiative up or down one could result in you having the same initiative as an opponent, but the rules don't tell you what to do in that situation. I asked Alex, and Alex told me, well, whoever has the higher dexterity would go first, but that's not in the book, from what I can tell. I mentioned the antibiotics thing being kind of confusing. I also agree with A Man Alone when he mentioned like spending 5 stamina to move up in initiative makes sense. Having to spend 5 stamina to move down in initiative doesn't really make as much sense. Like, if you're allowed to do Overwatch, which basically lets you wait, well, that is using your stamina. Anyways, makes sense that you'd be able to wait without having to pay 5 stamina. The random... okay, let me put it this way. The organizational issues of the book. I often have a hard time finding what I'm looking for. It's like when you put a specific address into Google Maps, but instead it brings you to a range of addresses instead. Like, it's just weirdly hard to find things sometimes. The layout is gorgeous, but the lack of art makes it harder to find things. You know how it is in books where you remember that a table is behind a certain piece of art, something like that? The fact that there's so many just black pages make that hard. The tables are too scattered. I know that you would need another 20 or 30 pages in the book to then make a place where all the tables are consolidated, but it would be nice. The surprise and unknown events table is hugely useful, and it is not in the table of contents, and it's not given enough proper emphasis. There are tables that are called different things in different places. So I think that like the random NPC crew members are on page 356, and they're way back in the Karam Station section instead of up front where they would be needed when prepping your character. So I think they belong there. Also, at one point they refer to as simplified crew members on page 42, which is confusing since the process won't be listed for another 300 pages. And if you're just reading the book for the first time, you won't know what that means, a simplified crew member. So if it's a random NPC crew member, call it that everywhere. Don't call it a simplified crew member. And then, oh wait, I need to say more good things, and there are good things to say. There's so many solo rules here. There's just a huge... It's funny to me that Dragonbane, I guess Dragonbane is technically more mainstream. Dragonbane gets praised for having a good solo thing to the starter set, and it's a fraction of what Alex has put into this book. This has so many good things, more than you'll need. So like, I guess one counter argument to my like, I can't find everything. You don't need to. Like, you could play with a third of the tables that are in here, and you'd still have an amazing time. The action theme table can often run almost most of what you need if you're a badass solo player and you're able to use it like that. It has more structure than Starforge, which will appeal to many people who kind of get lost in the openness of that system. Like, Starforged is obviously an amazing game and considered by some to be quite possibly the best, sci-fi solo RPG you can play. But it can be like, it just doesn't have enough handrails, and this gives you handrails. The loop of it, it's almost like if you had like on the low end you have 4 Against Darkness. It's okay. And then over here you have like Starforged, and then you've got Alex's games are kind of like up here towards. There's a framework, but not too much, and I like that. It's modular, so there's a lot of things you can take and leave as you need it. And I already mentioned that there's tools for overland sites and the station, just like Scarlet Heroes. Let me tell you what I think is the number one sin of this book. Okay, so in general, I love the book. I think it's great. I think it's worth your money and time. I think if you play it, you will like it. It is crunchier than... do I think that this is a good very first time game for people who have never played solo RPGs before? No, I do not. I think that there are lighter, less crunchy things. I think that people who have played RPGs before forget what it's like to be brand new. This isn't it. And the reason it isn't it is because it was written by Alex, who is very familiar with RPGs. And the more familiar we are with something, the more easy it is for us to forget what it's like to be new at that thing. And so I will end with this very specific example of that. That really drove me nuts on my first read through. Okay, ignore the dog barking in the background. All right, so should I show you while I should probably show you while I'm saying this. Okay, so I want to give you an example. This is the criminal right here. The site construction and exploration example. My thesis is this is problematic. Okay. So it says the PCs roll a 5 on the social travel, or on the travel event table, whatever. They roll a 1 on the travel event table, which indicates a social event. They roll a 5, and it says 2 crew members start a conversation. And then it says 2 random characters. They roll 1 on the social. The crew rolls 5 on the social event table, which means 2 random characters start having a conversation, which is fine. And then he says they each roll an attitude, and already I don't know what you're talking about, right? What does it say? Use the random conversation. Oh, okay, yeah. So if you roll even that, it says the crew rolls a 5 on the social event table. I go back to the social event table. Of travel, right? Traveling. I'm voyaging. Social event. 2 crew members start a conversation. Use the random conversation table. No reference to what that is or what page it's on. It's never been mentioned before. I don't know what that means. It's also not in the table of contents, so I can't find it, right? So we go back here, and it says they roll... Where'd it go? Oh, here. So then they say, okay, they each roll an attitude, and they're confused and excited. No page number given. What table is this? All right, so I'm like, oh, maybe it's the NPC. So now I remember, I'm reading this for the first time, and this is supposed to be an example to make it easy for me to understand, and we're already completely off track. So they're like, all right, well, it's a start. Is it a starting attitude, right? Because they said each roll is an attitude. Is it an NPC starting attitude? Because I don't actually know if these are NPCs or player characters, right? Like, I think that they're player characters. It just says that they're characters. So maybe they're NPCs. So I check. The 236, is it the starting attitudes section, right? Do I look here? Nope, because I know it's not, because confused and excited are not options. So what about the character motivations table on page 232? No, I know it's not this, only because there's no confused and no excited. So what about NPC motivations, NPC character descriptors, NPC nature, NPC quirks? No. I know now that all 3 characters in the example are player characters, and there's no NPCs because it said earlier that they all gained 5 stress. And in order for you to gain 5 stress at one time, you have to be like a regular player character, because generic player NPCs only gain 1 stress every time a player gains 5 stress. I guess these could be NPCs that were fully fleshed out, but again, I have no idea. I have not been told. So how about NPC details, right? About how they are feeling, right? Characters, NPC nature, NPC details. So I get to this, and I was like, is this the one I'm looking for? I'm looking for excited and confused. Is this it? This must be it. Here's excited. There's confused. So this must be the table that I was looking for, right? No. Because if I go one more page, here I am at random conversations, the referred to table with no listing in the table of contents and no page number given and no explanation that I was supposed to go here. So I finally get there, and it's actually not, it's the table I'm looking for is the character's reaction. It just says use the random, this says that they roll an attitude, right? But the attitude, it's not an attitude, it's a reaction. So, of course, I was going to look for a table called attitude, not reaction. So finally we get to, okay, it's a reaction table, or character's reaction table, not an attitude. And then there's a whole other page that has a bunch of conversation topics, which again, they start talking about something. I was like, how do I know what they're talking about? I guess they're assuming it's role play, Like, I literally didn't know because I didn't know. And there's no... If this is an example, make an example, please. Just tell me what I want to read to know what you're talking about. This is a bad example. I love this game, and Alex is the nicest game designer I've ever met. This is a bad example. This should not be in here. Was horribly confusing. And it says they talk about their hopes. And I was like, wait, why? Where did you get that from? Oh, you mean they rolled 34 on the conversation topic table, which is over here. So say that. Tell me that they did that. And then it says Numa's stress goes down by 1. But I hadn't figured out all of the above, so I had no idea why. I didn't know why her stress went down by 1 because I didn't know that this section here says that if it takes place during a voyage that this is going to go down by 1. And then I don't know whether or not it's cumulative. If it's 2 PCs and they both roll, do you cancel them? If it's a PC and an NPC... This, to me, is an example of the biggest problem with the game. And I know I've spent like 15 minutes talking about it, but... I mean, I read this a lot before I felt comfortable playing, and when I did play, I actually chose to play without NPCs because I was so confused by how I was supposed to play them. And I think that is why I think this is not a good first game for new solo RPG players. I think, actually thinks, yeah, like Arnsworn or Starforged would arguably better. Or, you know, D100 Dungeon is a very different thing, I understand that. But it helps people learn mechanics that are very common in role-playing games. I love this game. I'm playing this game more. I'm going to be doing more playthroughs on it. I'm going to be doing Karam Station Blues. I want to learn how to do this just makes me... The game is so evocative and so involved that it just makes me want to play it more. So, yeah, this ended up being an hour and a half long. Jesus Christ. So sorry. Maybe I'll just do another video where it's just a straight page through with less of me talking about everything. I don't know. I'm going to ask Alex what he thinks about that decision. Anyways, get yourself a copy. It is a little... The hard copy, you can get a print off version off of Drive-Thru RPG, but because of details that Alex can explain, it's kind of expensive. You're better off just paying the hefty shipping to get the book from Spain in order to get the hard copy. I wasn't sure that it was worth it, but now that I have it, if you're gonna play it, if after looking at this you're like, yes, this is great, absolutely worth it. You'll get your money's worth. Your dollars for donuts value for entertainment here is better than a movie, right? What's that, $20 for an hour and a half? This is gonna keep you busy for dozens. All right, well, Jenny probably wants to play Great Western Trail by now, and I've been doing this for an hour and a half. I should probably stop. So, thanks for watching. Leave your comments. Sorry for the length. Get used to me saying that. I'll see you in the next one. Carry on with courage. See you later.